My next round of conversation was with Ritesh. He was, I think, around 17, 18 years old at that point of time. I was awestruck to see how can a 18-year-old guy can run such a larger vision. See, Cloud Kitchen was a fancy concept at that point of time. I think around 2019 when Swiggy and Zomato was expanding and it reached out even to my parents. I would put it in that way. My parents stay in tier 3 cities. I do not want to be one among many. That was very clear when I started up. I wanted to make a mark.
Alright, welcome once again. We have a very interesting guest today with us in this particular video, and I'm going to tell you more about the guest. But before that, a lot of us who are part of B schools, they think that what kind of a career would I have if I start with a startup in these kind of times, and kind of stick to it and not move into any of the MNCs. Today with me, a person is sitting right now. Ranga, thank you very much for giving us time. You flew from Bangalore. You work at Unacademy right now, and you have been this poster boy of startups, I would say, throughout your life. You're a VP there now working, but your story started pretty differently after your B school was done, and I will come back to that story. But I would like to start this particular video with a different kind of a story of 2016, a story where you were working with OYO. Tell us what was happening at that point in time. A bright individual, a young individual working in sales, trying to sell OYO to people probably where they did not have that much of an idea at that particular area.
Thank you first of all for inviting me to the conversation. In 2016, I think, like you rightly pointed out, we have to hard sell what is the concept of OYO. So that's where it started. We have to take a hotel on rent or lease where people do not know anything about you. You have to go and have a conversation with someone who doesn't know anything about the brand because we were very new in the market. So in the first, I would say 1 year, it was one of the toughest because it's like getting a home for rental in Bangalore or Mumbai, but you don't pay any advance or security deposit. The house owner has to trust you, stating that you will become big in the future. In return, you will get the return of investment from you. That's the point that I would say. So first year was very difficult. We were able to get only 4 hotels, but in the second year we grew up to 40 hotels because that once you establish the trust in the market, the compounding is very significant. It's like a hockey stick growth curve. So that's the point that I would say. So what worked? I would say it's just knocking the door hard. You have to have n number of conversation until the person on the other end gets convinced, and through word of mouth. The first is the most toughest one. The second, it's okay. The third is very easy, and then you deploy a team to follow the playbook. So that's what exactly we did at OYO, and we were profitable too. Tamil Nadu, the region that I managed, we were profitable in terms of unit economics. That's the point.
Isn't that what a startup career also like, where you have to trust in that particular startup and the idea that it's building and hope that it will grow to give you more dividends?
To a certain extent, yes, as well as right. See, startup is predominantly your heart or gut feeling that things will crack. It is predominantly based on hope. The uncertainty is huge because nobody has cracked the playbook. Even if you have cracked the playbook, the entry barriers for other competitor to come in is very low. Say for instance, there was a point where foodtech, there were 10 other apps doing the similar thing.
Correct.
Since the entry barrier when it comes to technology is limited, the first in the market wins. Or first to scale in the market wins. That's how I would put it forward. You're right. When there is uncertainty, the only thing that will drive you is hope and trust.
You became a part of a startup also from this particular B school. How was that selection process like? Was it like a conscious call from your end also that you wanted to get into a Series A funded startup, which was AskMeBazaar at that point in time? I remember using AskMeBazaar at that point in time as well. And it was pretty cool because you were getting all of these things at one place. It was an e-commerce website. It was trying to compete with a lot of big players also. There was a lot of opportunity for you. At the same time, there was risk involved as well. So what was your mindset when you actually got in there, and how did you land up in the job, if you remember what happened?
See, the first thing that I could recollect was that See, I do not want to be one among many. That was very clear when I started up. I wanted to make a mark because if there is no risk, the return of investment will definitely be low. That was very clear for me. So if I could recollect the selection process during, I would say, my interview with AskMeBazaar, there was a case study that was given, and I think I did it really well. With the help of Ruchi. Ruchi was very strong in marketing, by the way. So Ruchi, who heads marketing with SDA Bocconi, she was very strong in marketing. So she gave me certain input on the framework, how to present it better. So it started from there, and I was able to create one of the best pitches to AskMeBazaar. How should their marketing plan be laid out for the next, I would say, 6 months. So it started from there. E-commerce was just booming at the time. When Flipkart and Amazon was just shipping books during 2014, 2015, they were never a marketplace for everything, and it started from 2015 where they started selling everything. So that made me very clear the way to go forward is e-commerce. So first, if I could recollect my selection process, I was very clear I need to get into an e-commerce firm. That was my selection criteria. Second, I need to get a great role. Third, if I get a great role, I need a good visibility within the org. So all these three pointed out to a early stage startup, which was, let's consider, a Series A or Series B startup. Eventually, I landed up with AskMeBazaar, which filled in all the criteria. So I would put it in that way.
How the shift towards hospitality happened for you? I mean, you moved industries from e-commerce, you decided that you want to get into a company that probably was on the rise at that point in time as well. And people by then were just opening up to the idea of these new hotel chains that were coming up. What are these hotel chains? People had very little idea about, and then OYO became what it became later on when it started growing up. When you were making that switch from one startup to the other, are you now aware of what happens in a startup? Because as you mentioned, that there is a lot of work that you need to do as a single entity because a lot is dependent on you. In the next startup also, when you're joining, that's the same that's going to happen, right? And you're aware of it. Being aware of that, how do you make that choice? How do you make that decision?
So I'll give you a brief about the selection. So I met a 22-year-old OYO co-founder, I would say, Anuj Tejpal. So when I met him, I was carried away by his energy. So he was explaining me with just 10 hotels at that point of time. He had passion to take big on I would say, take big on or take a larger bet. So just see, you are sitting in a place with 10 hotels, but you had vision or ambition to rule the entire country with hotels. That's the vision that I was carried away. So my next round of conversation was with Ritesh Agarwal. He was, I think, around 17, 18 years old at that point of time. I was awestruck to see how can a 18-year-old guy can run such a larger vision.
What was the conversation like? Do you remember?
Yeah, I could recollect.
18-year-old Ritesh told it.
So the size of the, I would say, the entire office was just around 200 square feet or 300 square feet max.
Smaller than this room that we are sitting in.
Yeah, this was
like
half.
One corner of it.
Yeah, one corner of it. So I met Ritesh, and Ritesh asked me, what do you want to do in your life? I told him, I wanted to do something which ensures that I'm at top of whatever I do, be it in terms of business or be it in terms of any role that I take. That's the only thing that I said. And he gave me vision about thinking big. He said, yes, we recently raised Series A. We wanted to expand into Tamil Nadu for a particular line of business. He was very clear with what he wants. And then I made the chief operating officer for self-operated business, the business line that I was working. He had clear clarity on the next 2 years. And most of the companies will not have a clear vision what will the future look like. But the next 2 years, we exactly executed the blueprint. So he was able to connect the dots right from the co-founder, Anuj Tejpal, Ritesh, and then Ankit Tandon, who is the chief operating officer of self-operated business. They all spoke the same language. They all had the same vision. The hunger and passion in the conversation was very clear that we have to be the number one hotel chain when it comes to the budget hotel. That was the vision that we drove, and it worked eventually.
Probably what next was for you was the cloud kitchen, the space that you got into, and I read somewhere in your LinkedIn, I think, where you said that the business was doing negative margins, and then something magical happened where Ranga stepped in, and then profits kind of shot up. What exactly did you do?
See, there are two things. See, cloud kitchen was a fancy concept at that point of time. I think around 2019 when Swiggy and Zomato was expanding, and it reached out even to my parents. I would put it in that way. My parents stay in tier 3 cities, but it reached out to them.
They were ordering biryanis.
Yes. So I was like very fascinated, thinking, if my mom and dad could order with a one touch point in the mobile, so there is something onto it. I was fascinated with Swiggy and Zomato. When I got a similar opportunity to do it in OYO, where we become supplier to Swiggy and Zomato, where our asset utilization could become better. Let's say, for instance, you have a larger hotel, you got the amount of space. Those spaces will become eventually the pickup points for Swiggy and Zomato. That's a big thing. You cook food in the pickup point and then you deliver it to Swiggy and Zomato. That's the thought process. I was carried away by the vision again. Like you rightly pointed out, see, when you start something new, your 0 to 1 journey is about exploration. So we figured out the best way to go is that standardization of every single material that gets used to prepare food. So that gave an edge. For instance, I'll give an example. Let's consider Fasos. You are aware about the wraps that they made in Mumbai. Mumbai Powai was the first center that they started with. I was very carried away. In 2014, they were delivering throughout Mumbai, sitting in Powai, and they had multiple hub and spoke model. They were able to standardize every single wrap, same quality, same taste across the entire Mumbai. So I think we did the same thing. We started with biryani. Since biryani, the amount of ingredients that gets in are almost regulated, or you can say standardized. So we started with that. We scaled across 500 odd kitchens. With scale, your cost goes low. And with cost going low, your profitability will become big. And second, with scale, your brand touch points become higher. Swiggy and Zomato, based on the rating, will eventually push your product up if you maintain your ratings. I think with the scale, cracking the blueprint of standardization, and third, having a strong partnership with the distributors eventually helped us from a negative margin to a greatest extent, at least to become to a EBITDA profitable. That's the point I would put it across.
One last question, Ranga, if somebody is looking at you right now, possibly at the same kind of a situation like yours, working at Infosys at possibly the same salary that you were working in, what should they be looking at a B school if they are deciding to pivot in their life, and who should actually do an MBA?
So I'll take the questions in two fronts. Who should do the MBA and what should they look into selecting a B school? That's the way that I would put it forward. I would say first, who should do an MBA? Somebody who has a knack of getting into managing a business, who will eventually lead a larger role in leading an objective, be it in terms of driving a sales number, or be it in terms of delivering the complete revenue target for the company, or be it in terms of delivering the profitability to the company. I think if you have knack towards the management side of thing, be it in terms of marketing, sales, you can say systems and process creation, anything apart from this, I think you should do an MBA. I would put it in that way. If I just need to summarize, आपको कुछ मज़ा आता है in terms of running a particular objective and getting an outcome from it, be it in terms of running a small performance marketing ad and through a Google or Facebook, and you are pumped up by numbers that are coming out, I think you should join. I would put it in that way. आपको कुछ मज़ा आता है नंबर देख के, then management check सकते हैं. You can prefer that as an option. And when it comes to the second part, what is the kind of B schools that you have to select? See, I would put it into two perspectives. One, what is the opportunity that the institution throws on you? So the opportunity can be in two fronts. The experience that you get at the campus matters a lot. I would say that is the one thing which matters. Definitely it matters. Second, is the institution providing you enough opportunities when it comes to taking part in I would say e-cell or academic cells, or the kind of opportunity where you can engage with the corporate. It's not just about getting a placement. Apart from placement, what is the experience that you get in terms of academic and non-academic matters a lot. I would say these are the two things that matters a lot. Obviously, placement matters a lot, but the first two determines the success or failure of your long-standing career, because your career is around 15-20 years. One thing you will harness over a period of the 2 years of experience in a B school is that 2 saal you are going to sit with your peers doing a case study, understanding how the outside world looks from a small window. I think that experience has to be nourishing. If that is wasted, even if you get the best placement, you will not make the best use of it. Maybe you will have to spend additional 1-2 years to harness your skill and eventually lead up to the role that you want. But this 2 years is the testing ground that you have. If you make best use of it, I think you can save time. That's the best part that I would say.
Thank you very much, Ranga, for sharing your journey with us. And you probably are one of the examples that you mentioned who has leveraged the education that you have had and kind of harnessed the power of it through the selections that you have made, through the startups that you've worked with, through the kind of work that you have done in those, to make sure that you reach at a place where you are right now with all the constraints and the challenges that you have had in life. And all the very best for the future as well. I hope that you have another startup in mind that you want to either start or get into next as a part of your challenge. If you learned something from this particular video, do share this and hit the like button. That will help with the engagement of this particular video. If you want to know more about this particular institute that Ranga was part of, where we are sitting right now, SDA Bocconi Asia Center, there is a link in the description. Go check that out for sure. And do write in the comments below if you have questions for him that you want to ask. Thank you once again, Ranga, and all the very best.
Pleasure is mine. Thank you so much. Thank you.